Hi, we have another story, and this story is also from Bedtime Adventures Fluffy and his Friends, and this one is called Sleeping Beauty. Actually, the story is really about a mouse called Gertrude. Now, Gertrude was a college student, and she lived in a place called a dorm, which was sort of like a hotel. And it was a big apartment, and it had 3 rooms where people slept in it. And in each of those rooms, there were 3 other mice who were going to college. And then there was a 4th room, and that was the bathroom, and nobody lived in there. Although some people spent so much time in there, you could have thought maybe they lived in there. Well, at any rate, the other girls in the dorm room where Gertrude was, they did all sorts of things. They would stay up late at night, and they would work on their iPhones, and they would listen to music, and they would carry on and everything. And generally speaking, they went to bed pretty late. Now, Gertrude was very different. Gertrude would go to bed early, sometimes even at 9 o'clock, and she studied a lot. And then she got up early in the morning, sometimes around 5, and she would have her quiet time, and she would get her day in order, and she was always ready to go in the day. Now, the other girls, on the other hand, they thought that was so funny. They would say, "Well, where's Gertrude?" And somebody would say, "Oh, we have to be quiet. She's sleeping." "She's sleeping? What is she doing sleeping?" Another one would say, "Well, you know what? I think she needs her beauty sleep." "Oh, her beauty sleep." Well, then they started to call her Sleeping Beauty. But these other girls, they would get up late in the morning, and sometimes they would get up so late that they couldn't even get themselves really ready to go to class. Sometimes they would miss breakfast. Sometimes they would even be late for class. And then they would get grumpy. And then when they saw Gertrude come in, and Gertrude was all together, they would get mad at her. Although they wouldn't say they got mad at her, but they would get snippy, and they would say, "Oh, well, there's Her Majesty, Sleeping Beauty." And sometimes that hurt Gertrude, because she wanted to be friends with the other people, and she knew how to have fun, and she had fun at different times, but she just knew how to keep everything straight and keep her priorities where they ought to be. Well, one time there was a party, and it was over in another room, but it was for somebody that everybody knew and everybody liked really well, and they were going to be going away. So Gertrude went to that party, and she had fun there, but she even stayed there a little bit later. But when it got to be about 10 o'clock, she thought, "Oh, I better go back." So she left the party, and she noticed that another girl left too at that time. Her name was Isabella, but she didn't know Isabella very well. So anyway, Gertrude went back to her room, got ready, she went to bed. The other girls, they were out having a party and everything until 3 a.m. in the morning. And when they came back in, they were so tired, they just, boom, hit the mattress, and they fell asleep. Well, Gertrude woke up just before her alarm. That was a little bit before 5 o'clock. And so she crawled out of bed really quietly. She turned off her alarm clock, and she put on her desk lamp. She got dressed really quietly so she wouldn't wake anybody up. And she turned on her light, and she was going toward the door. And she heard something out in the apartment. And she thought, who could that be? It's not even 5 o'clock yet. I wonder who's out there. And so really quietly, it was dark in her room, and it was dark out there. She opened her door, and she saw somebody moving through the room, all dressed in black with a black mask on, and they had a bag. It was sort of a brownish bag she could kind of see in the dark. And whoever this was went into one of the other rooms. And Gertrude just stood at the door looking out there, and guess what? That person came out, and the bag was a little bit bigger. She must have been stealing stuff. And then whoever this person was went into another room. And of course, all the girls were asleep because they stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning, and they were just, and they couldn't do anything. They didn't even know somebody was in the room. And so this person came out of the other room, and the bag was a little fuller. Well, of course, this person didn't go in the bathroom because there's nothing, you can't steal anything out of the bathroom except toothbrushes and toilet paper. And she was coming into Gertrude's room. So Gertrude hid behind the door, and this person came in and opened the door very, very quietly, and then went from desk the desk and took all the money and emptied out the wallets and took watches and anything that was there. Well, Gertrude didn't know what to do, so she did the only sensible thing she could do. She turned on the light in her room and she screamed, "Ah!" and then coughed. And then she went out into the apartment and she turned on the light there and she screamed. Well, before you knew it, all the doors flew open, and the tired girl mice were there, rubbing their eyes and everything, and they saw this person dressed in black with the black hood on, and the big brown sack that was full of all of their goodies now, running across the room. So they all jumped on her, and they trapped that mouse, and they went and they took the hood off her head, and it was Isabella. Isabella had left the party early too because she knew that everybody would be so tired she could just walk into their rooms and steal stuff. Well, she hadn't counted on Gertrude. So after that, all of the girls were really nice to Gertrude, and they saw that there was some value in doing your homework and getting to bed on time and getting up early and setting your day in order and all that. So they kept they kept calling her Sleeping Beauty. But now it meant something good, and some of the girls took Gertrude's example about making sure that they kept their time in order and everything.